G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now this is just a quick video on Peter Dutton and the $1.8 billion contract he gave to a company called Canstruct International. It's worth raising again for two reasons. Number one, Senator Tim Ayres raised it in Parliament during the Senate estimates hearing in February this year. And number two is because it's likely to get a good run at the new National Anti-Corruption Commission because the $1.8 billion contract went to a company that had no assets, no staff and no revenue. So let's have a listen to what Tim Ayres said in the Senate estimates hearing in February this year, 2022.
The Audit Office hasn't gone back to this because this is what it looks like to me. That Minister Dutton and the Department of Home Affairs decided to award a contract that ultimately became a $1.8 billion contract to a company that had no staff, generated no revenue and held no assets without a competitive tender. So that decision was made before there was any due diligence of the company that was going to be provided this Rivers of Gold Commonwealth contract. After the decision was made, the department conducted a due diligence process, but there were no contingency plans put in place at all. And the due diligence process was of the wrong company. And on the basis of that misleading assessment, the department gave Canstruct International a contract that was worth $1.8 billion worth of taxpayers' money. And as I understand it, there's no security, no guarantees. The whole financial strength assessment process was a charade. What steps has the Audit Office taken, given the office has conducted the investigation and then had to sort of circle back and say, well, actually, this important aspect of the information that was provided to us was misleading? What steps have you undertaken to satisfy yourself that the way I've described this is not correct?
Senator.
Now what I didn't mention at the beginning there is that also there was no tender. And when they did due diligence, they did it on the wrong company, which is probably deliberate, because if they had done the due diligence on the correct company, they would have found out it had no assets, no staff, no revenue, no nothing. And that's got corruption written all over it. And probably helps explain why Peter Dutton is pushing very hard for a weakened National Anti-Corruption Commission where they only have public hearings in exceptional circumstances. So let's have a listen to what Peter Dutton said when he was asked by the media recently in relation to the National Anti-Corruption Commission.
We want a situation where people who have committed a criminal act are held to account. I don't want innocent people being trashed, and I don't want their reputations being trashed, and I don't want people committing suicide, as we've seen in South Australia and elsewhere, as a result of false allegations having been levelled against them. So that's why you need to get the balance right here. It's why the fanatics within the Greens need to be treated with great caution in relation to this issue and most issues, I might say. But that's the approach that we've taken. I think it's a responsible approach by the coalition, and we'll continue to work with the government in a constructive way.
Yeah, you just heard Peter Dutton say then he doesn't want people having their reputations trashed. He's worried people will commit suicide. People shouldn't be listening to the Greens. Well, the Greens have got nothing to do with it. We've had open and public hearings for 100 years or more in Australia, in all the courts and all the royal commissions, etc. So it's nothing new. It's got nothing to do with the Greens. He's using every excuse possible, Peter Dutton, to have a watered down National Anti-Corruption Commission, because he knows he himself personally is almost guaranteed to be called before it. And one example is obviously Canstruct International. There's a lot of questions there he needs to answer in his time at Home Affairs, why he gave him $1.8 billion of Australian taxpayers' money. Now let's have a listen to what Peter Dutton said in relation to his own assets recently on the Four Corners program. I think it's relevant because he's handing out public money left, right and centre to dodgy companies, and I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever there was some sort of kickback from Canstruct International. Exactly what that kickback is, we don't know, and that's what the National Anti-Corruption Commission needs to investigate. So let's have a listen to Peter Dutton being questioned about his own assets.
Peter Dutton has built his own wealth in real estate. In the past 30 years, he's wholly or partly owned and sold at least 21 properties in Queensland, including childcare and shopping centres, and a $6 million home in part of the Gold Coast known as Millionaires Row. He currently owns a $3 million Brisbane luxury apartment and a cattle farm. You are a very wealthy individual. You don't talk about that much.
Well, first point, I think that's overstated.
Why?
Well, because I think people make all sorts of assumptions about assets you've got, don't take into account the mortgages that you might have, or so people make those assumptions. But I did work hard, and I bought my first house at 19 or 20 or something like that, and I was able to invest in shares and renovate houses.
Now, it doesn't matter what you think about Peter Dutton. He's definitely got serious questions there to answer. He's been pushing for a National Anti-Corruption Commission with secret hearings, only public hearings in exceptional circumstances, which flies in the face of what Peter Dutton was used to in his 9 years as a Queensland police officer. When he was a Queensland police officer, he wouldn't have been asking for secret hearings for the people he was arresting. He would have been demanding that the hearings were in open court, like all other hearings are. And he would have been horrified if the court tried to push for secret hearings because they didn't want to damage the reputations of the alleged criminals. It's ridiculous. Absolutely scandalous. Peter Dutton thinks he's someone special, and he's not. Now, the government have set up an inquiry. It's going to last about 4 or 5 weeks into the National Anti-Corruption Commission legislation. But that's one thing they should look at. You know, some of the people like Peter Dutton who are pushing for restrictions on the public hearings, well, they're the same people who are going to be investigated by the National Anti-Corruption Commission, so it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'll be publishing an article on my website, kangaroocourtofaustralia.com, on Thursday the 13th of October 2022 with further information. So make sure you visit the website tomorrow. And the Patreon account I set up 7 or 8 weeks ago is currently sitting at 183 supporters who have committed to $1,561 a month. So if you'd support that, it'd be greatly appreciated. You can donate, $3 a month, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever suits your budget. It all helps out. And most people can afford $3 or $5 a month. And moving forward, that'll be my main source of income, so it'd be greatly appreciated if you could support it. And please share this video on Facebook and Twitter, etc. Thank you for your time and have a good day.